I'm Michael S. Collins. Well, I think it's a very contemporary piece about a person trying to adjust to modern life and the challenges and going about your day-to-day business. It just so happens that they're not normal like you or me, but you know, they still have their way in the world to deal with. It's hard to say now after so many months, to be honest. Because I think I must have had a flash of a. I think the general idea came to me was the concept of again, spoiler alert, but it is a vampire anthology. The idea of a vampire having to use the intercom to get into student dorms, and then the legality grounds of if that counted is permission to enter all of the dormitories. And that was the gem of the idea, and everything else built from that. It's when it comes to that sort of thing coming into horror, most people are heavily inspired by a short story by Isaac Asimov called Legal Rights, which is about the rights of a ghost to haunt a building in America, and it goes to the Supreme Court. So it builds on that kind of general idea. Well, this one was a relatively quick one in that it took about 2 hours to sit and write, and then a couple of weeks to edit, run it past my fellow writer John Arnold, who checks all my stuff and makes sure there's no glaring errors, edit some more, and then I just saw the ad for your anthology. So this was a stunningly short birthing period for a story. By normal, usually they take much longer to get together. With how many people would answer the door when you're thirsty? No. Well, you see, I quite like writing the story set in the area here because, well, first thing, it's where I live, so I know the places. And most of the ghost stories and horror stuff I read, like Stephen King's stuff, it always focuses on New England because that's where he knows them. But if I was to move anywhere, and we have to keep in mind that I'm basing this on memory, so I'd have to actually be there and immerse myself in the place again after 25 years. But I always thought at the time when I was a child that you could write quite a lot of interesting stuff in Singapore and the surrounding areas where we spent some time when I was a child. But again, I'm relying on memories from when I was about 7 years old there, so it would have to be, you have to be more immediate and sort of immersed in your surroundings to get the idea of the atmosphere of a place. Oh goodness, I'd say a vampire because they are undead, and if a werewolf's fully transformed, it's not going to be thinking enough to have a stake nearby. So I'd say the vampire wins overall, although that would be quite a extensive fight. Jack Daniels. If I were in Glasgow, I would take them to the People's Museum down at Glasgow Green because it gives them a nice overview of social history going back 700-800 years. If it was Scotland as a whole, I'd tell them to go up to somewhere like Loch Ness or Arisaig, where they could just relax amongst the countryside for a bit. Oh, it it was working in a charity shop because people kept trying not to pay because it was charity. Yes, I would like to thank John Arnold and Joe Thomas for helping with the editing, and Duncan Lennon for being so useful in his critiques, and Bob Furnell and Jenny Shirt and James Gent for insisting I went back to vampires, because I never used to look at vampire stories because I got a book on vampires when I was a kid and it freaked me out, and then in the last 15 years ago or so I just started writing about them again, and suddenly that's always the thing, you suddenly wind up with vampire stories to your name and credits and stuff, so yes, loads of people, no writer's an island, and the more people you know and can look on for cross-pollination of ideas and support, the better.